the Democrats' blowout victory in the runoff election of State Senate District 9, a solidly Republican district in Tarrant County. The results have delighted Democrats and rattled Republicans, not only here in North Texas, but across the state and country. Democrat Taylor Remett, a union president in Fort Worth, defeated Republican activist Leigh Wambsganss by 14 percentage points, 57 to 43%. We asked Remett about his surprise win.
The biggest thing I would say is I did the work. I stuck to what I wanted to do, and that was go meet voters of all different parties, talk with them, not at them, listen, understand the issues of what they're facing day to day. That's what we did, and it really comes down to not Democrat or Republican, but right versus wrong. How do I be a good steward of the constituents here? How do I make sure that I'm bringing their issues? And we got some issues that people are struggling with out here. So speaking to those, building that trust is what it's all about, no matter what party affiliation you have.
So you went knocking on doors, and you actually went on knocked on Republicans' doors, known Republicans.
Sometimes they would be either on the phones or the door would be knocked and it would be a Republican, and we would have a conversation. And you know, it's all about just listening, really, because again, I'm going to be representing Republicans and Democrats whenever I'm elected, because they all have a job and I'm going to help them.
And were their responses when you were having this discussion any different than the Democrats and the independents that you spoke with?
That's a good question. But the answer is they still have the same struggles. Everyone's struggling in this economy. We have to lower costs. We have to find a way to make it so that the people that work hard in this state are taken care of.
Have you spoken with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick?
Yes, had a brief conversation and just kind of how things are going and how to, talking about the transition, and yeah.
What did he tell you? Did he congratulate you?
He did. I mean, we ran a hard campaign. I think everyone saw that. I think, again, Republican or Democrat, we both had to run a campaign. We both worked hard. I won, but, it's still something I'm glad to be congratulated on, because it was a lot of work.
You're in a rematch in November. You don't have to worry about the March primary because you're the Democratic nominee for November, but you're going to be facing Leigh Wambsganss again.
Wow.
And so what are you going to be doing specifically out on the campaign trail to ensure that you can win again? Because as you know, as you probably have heard, Republicans think once the general electorate comes back into the fold, and you look historically that the Republican won by 20%, they may say, well, it's going to be tougher road for you this time.
Well, I don't think third time's the charm here. I did it twice before. I don't do it again because I'm doing the work. I have a team behind me that's also helping in that work. I didn't do anything alone. I've always had people behind me that believed in me, and I'm glad that the Senate District 9 believes in me, and I don't think that's going to change.
In a statement, Wambsganss said the election is, quote, a wake-up call for Republicans in Tarrant County, Texas, and the nation. The Democrats were energized. Too many Republicans stayed home. Tarrant County GOP Chairman Tim Davis and other Republicans also described the results as a wake-up call, and like Wambsganss, they expect to win back this seat in November.
There'll be a lot more voters in November. That's what we're looking towards. That's what we're looking forward to, is this election will be back on the ballot in November, and these same candidates will be head-to-head again in November, and we expect the result to be different.
How can you be so sure that in this particular race, since there will be a rematch, that there will be a different result?
Yeah, I think the numbers don't lie. The folks that live here are conservative. They support our party. They support our values.
As you might expect, Tarrant County Democratic Party Chairwoman Allison Campolo has a very different take. She is predicting a blue wave is coming in Tarrant County in November.
Yeah, there'll be more Republicans in November, but there'll be way more Democrats. And so we're not only going to hold on to SD9, but that race, that win, is going to carry us to win every single race that's important to us, from county judge to county clerk to every single judicial race to flipping several state house seats. This will be a clean sweep for Democrats come November.
And do you think that the outcome here will encourage the national party to invest more in the statewide candidates specifically for U.S. Senate?
Definitely, yes. I think there's going to be a profound increase in investment, not just from the national campaigns, national party, but even from donors within Texas. A big problem has been that Democratic donors donate outside of Texas. They send their money outwards. And same thing for Tarrant County. They send their money outwards. And that's just not going to be the case. We're seeing money stay here at home, and we're seeing money come in.
A Republican pollster, Ross Hunt, principal of Hunt Research in Dallas, says there are warning signs for the GOP, but that it's hard to take this special runoff race on a Saturday in late January and apply it to the midterm election in November. But he says there are concerns for Republicans.
Democrat won this seat because almost all of the independent voters who voted in this election and some of the Republican voters voted for the Democrat. And that is the big warning sign for Republican candidates for this fall. Turnout is important, but candidate quality is also extremely important as well.
Wambsganss says this is a wake-up call. Republicans stayed home. Too many Republicans stayed home. Is she right about that?
I don't think she's quite right about that. You can never have too much Republican turnout. And we did see a dip in Republican turnout from the first round of this special election in November. In the first round, Republicans and Democrats turned out at equal percentages. And we had two Republican candidates on the ballot then, Mrs. Wambsganss, and then also a candidate named John Huffman. And it could be that many of the voters who came out to vote for Huffman did not come out. Huffman himself, in a recent statement, said that there had been no effort to reach out to the 19,000 voters who had voted for him. So the electorate was 52% Republican to about 36% Democrat. And yet the Democrat is winning 57-43. So you do the math. There were a lot of Republican and independent votes going to Remett.
And why is that?
I think it has a lot to do with the candidate not quite matching the district. So this district, Senate District 9 in Tarrant County, is 51% Fort Worth. 51% of registered voters are in Fort Worth. And it's a district which has a large number of working class and middle class voters. In this district, the Republicans' handpicked candidate was from Southlake, the wealthy suburb at the northeastern end of the district, which represents just 4% of the registered voters. And she's an activist who has focused very successfully, but in her career has focused largely on culture war issues and social issues. And so we just had a very poor match between the ethos of the candidate and the nature of the district in this instance.
The Tarrant County Democratic Party chair is predicting, she told me she thinks this is a clear indication that there is going to be a blue wave in Tarrant County like we saw in Dallas County back in 2006. You're shaking your head no.
No, I saw that. I think she or someone else in the Democratic Party said this is a pattern. This election is a pattern. I mean, a single data point is never a pattern. Again, the turnout pattern does not indicate that Democrats have a surge of enthusiasm. Frankly, in an off-year election, I would expect the party out of power to turn out at a much higher rate than they did.
A few days after our interview, Hunt released more detailed findings about the runoff election results. Hunt found between 25 and 33% of Republicans and between 55 and 75% of independents voted for Democrat Taylor Remett. Leigh Wambsganss received more than 8,400 fewer GOP votes in Fort Worth in January than she and another Republican, John Huffman, had combined in November. That's 62% of the GOP margin of defeat. And Wambsganss received nearly 7,000 fewer GOP votes in Keller and Southlake in January than she and Huffman had combined in November. That's 32% of the GOP margin of defeat. President Trump endorsed Wambsganss and urged people to vote for her on various social media posts. Last Sunday, he was asked about her loss.
Things like that happen.
Does it worry you about the
Well, you don't know whether or not it's transferable. I'm not on the ballot.
Also last Sunday, President Trump suggested he may make an endorsement in the Republican primary for U.S. Senate after all.
I'm giving it very serious thought. My problem is I'm friendly with all of them. Those are the hard ones. I like all of them. All three. But you'll be seeing soon. Okay? They say whoever I endorse wins. That's probably right.
The latest independent poll in the Republican primary for U.S. Senate shows the race has tightened up even further. The JL Partners poll shows Paxton, Attorney General for Texas, leading with 27%, and Congressman Wesley Hunt at 25.7%, and Senator Cornyn at 25.5%. 21.7% are unsure. Analysts have predicted Cornyn and Paxton will likely end up in the May 26 runoff.